So over the past few weeks, I've been watching this show called The Chosen. You may have heard of that one before. It depicts the story of Jesus. And one thing I really love about this show is that each episode is depicting a miracle that Jesus performed. And this show and just being witness to this recreation of an event that happened long ago really has piqued my interest in the the physics of miracles. For a long time now, I've always had this curiosity about what is a miracle? What makes a miracle possible? Can I can I be someone that allows for a miracle to happen? It seems to be a miracle, seems to be a transmission of something that's greater than me that comes through me or is witnessed through me. And how might I allow that to be more of my experience in my life? A few weeks ago, I made a declaration to myself, and that declaration is that I will write a book about miracles before I die. And that book is going to be about the miracles that I witnessed, that I've experienced in my life. And it's going to teach how to become a recipient, how to allow miracles to be experienced in your life. So, as I've been in this research and investigation lately, something that's been very clear to me in terms of how to allow for miracles to happen in your life, because I've certainly had miracles appear. The first thing that you need to do if you want miracles to appear in your life is to be a yes to miracles being present in your life. It's a simple yes from your heart. Yes, I want miracles. Yes, I'm available for miracles. Yes, I am here to be a witness to life's miracles, life's miraculous nature. I am here to be witness. I'm here to see that. I'm here to become aware of that. That's the yes. The second piece is the noticing. So you can be yes to it, but you might not actually notice the many miracles that are already present in your life. And how I'm seeing it right now, and I'm going to share a story about this specific thing. How I'm seeing it right now is that, you look at Jesus, you look at the miracles that he performed, such as rising Lazarus from the dead, or healing a man who's blind, suddenly he can see. These are these large, it's like this huge, big energy blast. It's just like this huge miracle bubble, basically, that like pops and something truly magical happens, right? Now, great, great. Do I believe that a huge miracle is possible in my life? Yes, absolutely. But are all those miracles these big bubbles? No, there's a lot of little tiny ones. There's a lot of little small ones. And so, a miracle, it's like this very tender, very delicate energy. It's a very, very, very delicate energy. So it's like it exists until the moment you doubt. Then it's gone. It just disappears. But if you can hold that, if you can hold the capacity for a miracle bubble, if you can hold that through saying yes and noticing when that it appears, then those bubbles can start to get bigger in your life. And then they can become something that's like, whoa, what was that? Like, wow, that's profound. But it starts with the little tiny ones. And those little tiny ones make up a lot of our existence. They're all around. And from what I understand is that oftentimes when something kind of weird, kind of strange happens, where it's like things are going in kind of normal, and suddenly something shifts to the left or the right unexpectedly, those are the moments where a miracle bubble might be present. So I want to share a story about that. I was spending time with my what I'm gonna call her right now, lover. We're still undefined right now. A lover in Canada. Um, we've been having just like a wonderful time here, just about an hour outside of Ottawa. And this weekend we were spending time in this like small town on the lake and just like hanging out, just enjoying our lives, walking around this town, just getting ice cream, jumping in the lake, just enjoying ourselves. And for this whole day, we were just in this really nice flow together. It was just like real chill and relaxed and alive and just nice. And towards the end of the night, it was around 8:30 or so, we were like, okay, we're ready to go home now. And so I go to open the Uber app, assuming that we would be able to get a ride because we didn't have a car at the time. And it turns out Uber was not available in the area. And so I checked a bunch different, Lyft wasn't available. We called a bunch of friends, no one was available. And then we GPSed it. We're like, okay, it looks like it's going to be like 75 minutes to 90 minutes to walk back home. So not the end of the world, right? But not ideal after a full day of doing things and having, our picnic stuff and things with us and sandals on, right? So we start walking and on the way, Kai says to me, she's like, "Oh, you know what? My friend Seb's house is actually on the way. We could actually just walk to his place and see if he can give us a ride for the rest of the way." So we walk about 45 minutes and show up at his home. And right when we get there, at first we felt some resistance to knocking on his door. There was like a sense of like, I don't know if it's like he's going to be available or want people to bother him randomly at 9 at night, you know. It was actually dark, fully dark by this point. And, you know, I don't know about you. Maybe it's a millennial thing, but I'm not used to having people knock on my door randomly at night, you know. So it was one of those things. And we just said, you know what? We just got to do it. Let's just see what happens. We knock on his door. And we wait for about 2 minutes, and then he shows up and opens the door, and he's like, "Oh, hey guys, hey, sorry, I just woke up for a nap." And we're like, "Oh, sorry for waking up from a nap. We were just walking by and wanted to knock and see if you were available to help us out." And we get to talking, and he tells us that he's been having a hard time and challenging time in his life for the past week, and then, when we asked him if he had a ride, if he could give us a ride, he had said that his car had recently been having issues, so he's not able to drive us. So we're like, okay, that's, not a big deal. We can continue walking, but before we leave, would you like to receive a blessing? And and he was open. He was like, yeah, sure, that sounds great. So Kai came up with this idea to do a kind of like a psychodrama exercise that led into this blessing. And what we did was we invited him to first speak to me, to speak to me as his old self, and then to speak to Kai as this new, like, higher self that he's stepping into. And we invited him to just kind of go back and forth, speaking to me in his old pattern self, and then speak to Kai in this like enlivened, like, this is what I choose, this is who I am self. And so we did that for a few minutes, kind of going back and forth. And once that was complete, we went into a blessing. And and this blessing was basically us reflecting back everything his higher self had said to him. And I had this impulse that we needed to hold his heart. So I asked him, is that okay if we hold your heart while we're doing this? By the way, I had never met this guy before. This is like my intro to Seb. So it's about like, 9:15 at night. We're randomly showing up at this guy that I've never met before's house. And now I'm holding this man as he begins to sob and just be clearly very touched by what was happening as we're speaking. You are safe, like you are loved, like the universe, life cares about you and is supporting you. The reason we're here is because of that. And as I'm holding this man's heart, it suddenly became clear that I was the miracle. I was the transmission of this miracle that was coming, was knocking on this man's door and saying, in the form of, "Hey, you're safe. You're supported. We you are held." It's going to be okay. Life, God, Spirit cares about you. And this couldn't be a more obvious indicator of that. And so once we finished the blessing, Seb said, "Oh man, I really wish I could give you guys a ride. I feel guilty that I can't." And we're like, "No, no, 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 no. This is exactly what needed to happen. Don't worry." And he's like, "Well, can I at least give you guys a headlamp to use when you're walking back?" And it was like pitch black, and we're walking down the highway. So we're like, "Yeah, totally. Thank you." So as we start walking again, we're walking for about 10 minutes, and Kai was like waving the headlamp whenever a car came by so that they didn't hit us. And at one point, we wave the headlamp, and a car pulls over, and they check in with us, and they offer us a ride. And immediately we get home. And so it was just such a beautiful thing to recognize that although Seb couldn't give us the ride, he gave us the tool, that the headlamp, which got us the ride home. And it just couldn't be more clear how beautifully true this miraculous moment was. And so I'm sharing this with you as my way of saying, hey, I'm a yes to miracles, and they're happening in my life. And I'm so grateful for it. I'm ready for more. I'm ready to hold the small bubbles and the bigger ones, and I invite you as well. So if you're watching this and you're also a yes to a miracle, I invite you to make that prayer today. Invite that into your life. Reaffirm that if you haven't done that in a while. I'm open and available for miracles. And if you have been experiencing miracles, share them with your friends. Share them with those you're closest to. Remind those who you love that miracles are possible, and they're not just possible, they are the fabric of our existence. With that, I wish you a miraculous day.